Hello everyone, welcome to Quarrelsome Rhinoceros Stitches episode 20. My name is Monica, I'm the host. This is a podcast that's mostly about knitting, where I show some designs that I'm working on and some other projects here in between. You can find me as Quarrelsome Rhino on Instagram. Wow, right out of my head. Quarrelsome Rhino on Instagram and Morux, M-O-R-U-X, on Ravelry. I do have 2 patterns in my Ravelry store that I have published, and I am working on more to add in there. And I do share those occasionally on the podcast, so keep your eye out for that. I don't have any of my own designs to share today, I don't think. I am currently in the process of writing up 2 different sock patterns. I just recently released the Tempest shawl, which was I released on the 1st of October, and it's a half circle shawl, semicircle shawl with a texture pattern down the spines of the shawl, and I am releasing a sock pattern that goes along with that, that will have that same texture pattern on it. I just have not finished writing it up yet. So anyway, welcome. It is the 3rd of November today. I'm coming to you from a different location than I normally film. Normally I film at my house in Bangor. I live in Maine, which, for those that don't know, excuse the noise, for those that don't know, is in the northeast corner of the United States. And right now we're heading pretty fast into winter. Anyway, normally I shoot in Bangor, but in my house, but my house is currently without power, or it was the last time I was there. I am currently at my grandmother's house in Belfast. I'm looking right there. There's water out there. My grandmother lives right on, my grandmother lives right on a bay. And yeah, so anyway, welcome. I feel like, I know it's only been 2 weeks, but it's been a really crazy hectic 2 weeks for me. So, I haven't, or it feels like it's been longer because it's been such an interesting time. And I'll talk more about that at the end. Anyway, I guess a little bit of admin stuff to get out of the way first. So I am hosting Knit Along right now. It's a one skein shawl along, and I'm hosting it through the end of the year. So you basically knit a shawl or scarf that is at least 85 grams, but no more than 125. I can't remember if it was 115 or 125 that I put. But if you look down in the description box, there is a link to my Ravelry group for the podcast, and I have all of the information that you need there to get started with that knit along. And it's really, I decided to start it because I wanted to encourage you to take time out for yourself while you're doing all of the holiday knitting that you're thinking about doing this year. And I'm sure that most of you are doing a lot of holiday knitting already. Last year I knit all of my Christmas presents that I was giving to people, and I believe that was my first episode, was going through all of those. Maybe it was my second episode, I can't remember, going through all of those projects that I knit for other people. And this year I'm not doing that. This year I have decided to be selfish and knit things for myself. So I am going to be making my own one skein shawl, and I will release a one skein shawl pattern here pretty soon, where I haven't decided if I'm gonna do it like at the end or like kind of a midway point release, but I have it all written up and it's ready to go. So anyway, there's a lot of noise right now, as you may be able to hear. I don't know if you can hear the background noise, but my grandmother has an apartment in a larger house, and the landlords of that house decided to have their roof redone. And the project was started yesterday, and it's continuing into today. And I didn't know this before I came up, and I brought all of my stuff to record. And I really want to get this episode recorded so that eventually when I get power back, I can just upload it. Anyway, yes, so I guess I should just get right into the knitting content. I really do feel like I haven't done this in forever. I guess first off, I am wearing my Meandering Shawl by Stephen West. This is a pattern that I finished not that long ago, and it has barely left my neck since I did finish it. It is so squishy and soft and warm, and I absolutely love this shawl. Anyway, as for what I'm working on right now, I do have a fair amount of acquisitions, which I will talk about in a bit. Some of the acquisitions were gifts, and some of them are kind of gift knitting. My grandmother likes to buy me yarn so that I can knit things for her with them. Anyway, so I will kind of go through the acquisitions as I'm going through the regular just projects, because I've already cast some of them on. So I have talked about in the past that I'm working on an old romance sweater by Joji Locatelli. And here is my old romance. So last time I showed it to you, I'm almost done with it. So last time I showed it to you, I was here working the body part, and I was probably about here. And so I've finished the whole body. Sorry, I was talking behind the sweater just now. So I finished the whole body, done the bottom ribbing and everything. And I finished one of the sleeve cuffs. Oh, I'm so excited. So here's one of the sleeve cuffs. I decided to do it in this green. I think I had talked about that on my last podcast, that I was going to do it in the green, and I absolutely love how it looks. So I'm actually going to take this off, and I will show you what the sweater looks like. I know that I'm not wearing the best dress. I'm wearing a dress. It's gray. It's basically the same shade of gray as the sweater that I'm about to try on for you. That was poor planning on my part. And I have so many ends to weave in. Oh, jeez. This worked better the first time I tried to record this. All right, so here is, let me see if I can stand up. So here is the sweater. It goes down to about my waist, obviously where sweaters end. And then there is the cuff, sleeve cuff. I am so happy with how this turned out and the length that it is. And I cannot wait to put a button band on it, because I think that really will, I mean, obviously it's going to stop it from rolling, which means that it will actually come very close to closing. I have not decided whether or not I'm actually going to put buttons on it. I don't think I will. Whew, that made me quite warm. I don't think I'm going to put actual buttons on it, because I don't believe I will be closing it. I don't tend to wear my sweaters closed, even if they are cardigans and they have the ability to close. So, whew, I think I'm gonna leave that off for a minute. Anyway, so that sweater I'm making out of Dingo Dye Works yarn. The gray is called Pinky, and the green is called Carimbia. And it's just these beautiful, it's a tonal gray and a tonal green, and I love them together, and I absolutely love the shade of green. Anyway, so I am almost done with that, and I'm really excited to finish it. I'm not excited to weave all those ends in, though. So many ends. Anyway, so that is the only work in progress that I believe I have shown before on the podcast. Most of the rest of what I have to show is either a new acquisition or it's a new project cast on. So everyone, pretty much everyone in the knitting podcast or knitting podcast community has a sort of scrappy blanket that they work on occasionally. And I was working on a mitered square blanket for quite a while. And I have like 12 squares or something like that done, but I don't really find very much joy in it, and I don't know. It's not that I don't like it, and I would love the finished product. I just don't enjoy knitting it. So I have kind of put that on the back burner, and I did what any sane person would do. So I have this gobstopper ball of minis now that are like leftovers from projects that I worked on, and I also got I talked about it on the podcast before. So I got 1 month of the Row One yarns, which is like a mini subscription, and I got 1 month of it, and the minis were a little bit too small to use in my blanket, which is kind of what discouraged me from knitting on my blanket. But yeah, so I decided instead I'm going to make a granny stripe blanket because everybody else is making one and I really love how they look. Okay, so it's really long. I made it long enough so that it will fit on my bed, which is a full size. It is about 60 inches across because it is almost entirely my wingspan, which is exactly 60 inches. So, yeah, it's big. I mean, obviously it's not big lengthwise yet, but anyway, so here is my small granny stripe. I'm really enjoying working on it. When I can't really concentrate on knitting. I mean, it's a crochet pattern. The pattern is by Attic24. It's the granny stripe blanket. If you search for granny stripe blanket, it is probably the first thing that's going to pop up on Google. And every podcaster is pretty much making one of these. But yeah, I can understand why, because it is really soothing. I really do love crocheting, and crocheting is the first sort of yarn thing that I learned. I don't know if I've mentioned this before on the podcast. I probably have, but I learned to crochet before I learned how to knit, and so I've been crocheting for years, and I don't really find very many crochet projects that I actually enjoy lately. They're not challenging enough, or not entertaining enough, or whatever. But I think that the color changes in this is making it worth it. And it is a lot easier for me than knitting is. Even though knitting has become sort of second nature now, I think that I don't have to think about crochet at all when I'm doing it. And it just gives me time for my brain to relax while my hands are occupied doing something, which I find really relaxing, and obviously that's one of the reasons why I knit. But yeah, so I'm making a granny stripe blanket, and that's all with minis that I've acquired or are left over from projects from this year, which is great. I'm having a really fun time with it, and that is the only reason why my old roommate sweater took so long to get off the needles, is because I stopped to work on that. And I think that is the last, no, that's not the last work in progress, that's a lie. That is the last not new purchase that is a work in progress. Yeah. So the rest of my works in progress are from new purchases, because that's how I roll, apparently. I just buy yarn and knit with it straight away. So this is not a purchase. This is actually, the next one I'll show you is a sock that I'm working on for my aunt. My grandmother bought this yarn. It's Premier Yarns in wool-free sock. So it is an acrylic and cotton blend, I believe. Nope, it's mostly just acrylic. At least I think so. I don't know what PBT is. Anyway, so yeah, so it's a 93% acrylic, 7% PBT. I don't even know what that means. Anyway, so my grandmother found this on Amazon, and my aunt is allergic to wool, and so is my grandmother. So she's been trying to find like wool alternatives that are not just pure acrylic or not just pure cotton. So like this is fairly stretchy. I don't know. Anyway, so it's this really pretty green color. This is color number 7. It's a very catchy color name. But it is knitting up. I'm just doing the cuff of the sock right now. So it's knitting up striped, and I really like how it's turning out. I really like this lighter green stripe here. Anyway, her feet are exactly the same size as mine, so I'm just knitting a sock for myself. That makes it so much easier. I'm gonna knit so many socks for my aunt. She doesn't ever wear socks, that's the problem. So she's going to be using these basically as slipper socks. But yeah, so it's a 60 stitch sock. 60 stitch sock. I am using a 2.25 millimeter needle. I've got a little stitch marker to mark at the beginning of my round, but it's just like a little bead. Anyway, but yeah, this I actually just cast on this morning, and I've been working on it while I've been waiting for the roofer people to be done and to stop making noise in my area. So anyway, that was the first thing I got. And then last week I spent my weekend off with my grandmother as well, and so we spent some time, as I've mentioned before, there's a yarn store in Belfast that I really enjoy. It's kind of like in the basement. It's like a basement shop. Like, it's really weird. You have to like go down these like really steep steps to get into it, and then like it's just like full of yarn, and it's like nice and cozy, and all I want to do is wrap up in all the yarn. And so my grandmother bought a couple skeins for me to make her like scarf for the winter, or well, like a shawl, like a, I don't know, like a shawl thing to wrap up in the winter. And so like I said, she doesn't do wool, so she bought this Nako calico, and this one is 50% acrylic and 50% cotton, I think. Yeah, 50% cotton, 50% acrylic, and so it's like this really nice blue color. And then she bought a second skein that is like this like tonal blue, like it has several different shades of blue in it. And there's a little bit of yellow, I think, on the inside as well. And so I decided I was gonna just make up a pattern for her, but I feel like that would just take longer. So I decided to knit the I'm gonna say this wrong, Makiri shawl. I cannot pronounce, I don't remember what it is called. Hold on. This is awful. I'm a terrible podcaster. It is a pattern by Françoise Denois of Aroha Knits, and it's one of her free patterns. Maka Riri shawl, and it's one of her free patterns that she sends out as I think for signing up for her newsletter or something like that. And so here is what I have so far. It kind of starts out similar to how like the Find Your Fade or whatever starts out as well, but it's gonna have a lace section with this plain blue here pretty soon. I'm almost to the first lace section. So I started out with the sort of variegated striped, I guess, section, and then you stripe in the solid color, and then I'm gonna do the lace part in the solid color. And yeah, so the shawl was written for fingering weight yarn, I'm pretty sure. I decided to go ahead and use it anyway. This is I would say DK weight. It's either DK or worsted. It actually doesn't say on here what it is. I'm gonna go with DK because it is a British, no, not a British brand, but it's it does say in accordance with British standard. I don't really know what that means. Anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and guess that it is DK or worsted. And so I decided to use a 4.5 millimeter needle to knit it with, and then I'm gonna increase until I feel like it's good, and it doesn't need to be any wider, and then I will just try and fudge the pattern as I go. I'm just gonna mess it up. I know I'm gonna mess it up, but I'm gonna try. So here is my grandmother shawl beard. What am I doing? Okay. It has been a very long week, people. If you do stick with me through it, I will tell you why it's been a long week. So, anyway, so this place, it's called the Heavenly Sock Yarns in Belfast, and they are so good. I really like them. And yeah, so my grandmother bought that, and I have it in this very high-tech, fancy, this is where I'm keeping the pattern, the project, in my fancy paper bag, because I don't have enough project bags right now. Anyway, moving on. So that was the last acquisition that I've already cast on. But of course, while she was there looking for something for her, I picked up a couple skeins for myself. And I have a feeling I'm gonna have to go back and get 2 more of these skeins later, but I picked up some Swan's Island yarn. This color is called Sand. It is a sport weight. I also picked up a second skein of that Swan's Island. This color is called Evergreen, and it is also sport weight, and it's Rambouillet. I don't know. I can't pronounce French anymore. It is 100% wool, which I think is going to be really good for a colorwork hat or a colorwork pair of mittens. I would really like to do the how cold is it mittens, because I think it's really hilarious and I would totally wear those. But that one's written for fingering weight, and I don't know if I'd be able to, like, if I just did the colorwork chart, it would be, it would turn out way too big in sport weight. So I don't know. I'll have to figure out if I want to do that or not. But I'm definitely going to do a pair of colorwork mittens because everybody is all over colorwork mittens right now. You guys are enablers, and if it weren't for the podcasters, I would never buy yarn. That's my problem, is that I watch too many podcasts and you all talk about some amazing yarns, and so I have to, or amazing projects you're working on, and so I have to like go and buy myself some yarn to do some cool projects like you guys, because I just want to be part of the club. Anyway, I don't know. Anyway, at least I'm still laughing, right? The other thing that I picked up is this gorgeous skein. It's Huasco Sock by Araucania Yarns, and it is this gorgeous hand-painted, there's no color name, but it is this gorgeous blue, pink, and orange, yellowish, mustardy. I'm addicted to that mustard color, yellowy thing. But in the naked parts of the yarn, there are these gorgeous speckles. Oh, I fell in love with this instantly, and I could not say no to it. I'm just gonna open it up because, oh my gosh. Look at how gorgeous this is. So it has like 2 sections of each of the like bold colors that are in it. So it's got like 2 sections of blue, 2 sections of the yellow, and 2 sections of that pink. And then in the other sections, it's just speckled, but it is gorgeous. I have a feeling that this is gonna end up being a pair of socks. It is sock yarn, but I don't know. I haven't decided yet, really. So yeah, that is my other purchase. It is so soft. It is, I think it's merino. Nope, it just says 75% superwash wool and 25% polyamide. So, nylon. But oh man, it is good. It is gorgeous. I'm super excited to knit with this. And I waited
to skein it up until I showed it on the podcast. I was good for that one skein. Oops.
Whatever. Anyway, there it is. That was a fail. I'm trying to wrap this skein while I'm talking and it's just not working. There we go. It's a lot looser than it was. Hopefully it'll still fit in the ball band. So I have this pin board at my house where I put all of the bands and all of my swatches that I do. I'm definitely gonna do a swatch of this before I knit it because oh man, it is just gorgeous. I want to knit all the things out of this. There are no color names. There's dye lots, there's a color name. It's guacameo, but there's no dye lot that is the same. They recommend, it says hand painted, hold on. It says hand painted superwash wool blend, and it says as there are no dye lots, we recommend buying enough yarn at one time to complete each individual project. Knit with 2 hanks in assorted rows, 2 to 4 will ensure an overall blended effect. But it is gorgeous. I would love even like a sweater in this, but I'd have to obviously go back and buy like all of the skeins they had of this like particular colorway to do it. I don't know, this just speaks to me on so many levels. And speaking of other things that speak to me, hear a little bit of crinkling here while I open the package. I was bad and ordered yarn online, and I didn't even get to appreciate it until like 3 days after I got it in the mail because of the power situation at my house. But I don't think, it wasn't their last episode, it may have been the episode before they went to Rhinebeck, the girls in the Yarn Cafe, were talking, Tristan particularly, who is the dyer behind Dragonhorn Yarn, was talking about a skein of muted Molly Weasley that she had still in her store, and I just had to go get it because it's like my favorite colors, I guess, all mixed into one. So this is my first skein of Dragonhorn Yarn, and I couldn't say no to it. Like those those greens and blues and the like orangey, yellowy, this is begging to be a hat. I haven't decided if I'm just gonna leave it plain and do a socket hat or if I'm gonna do something else, but I just absolutely love this skein of yarn and I cannot wait to knit with it. I'm gonna force myself to finish with the old romance sweater before I do that though, because I know that if I cast this on, I won't finish the old romance because I'll be busy doing this. So yes, so this is muted Molly Weasley, and it is reskeined, so it wasn't, obviously wasn't dyed like this, but it was, yeah. It is just so pretty. I love those speckles. I absolutely love these like pops of like bright orange. Yeah, I'm a Weasley at heart, even though I'm actually a Slytherin. That reminds me, I have another acquisition that I have to talk about. I've been bad. I've actually had like a job that has paid me money, so I've like actually been buying yarn. Well, most of it was given to me, so I don't know. I don't know if that counts. It counts. I have one more acquisition that I have to go grab, and then I will talk to you a little bit about a project that I talked to you about last time. So hold on. Okay. So I just got these in the mail the other day, yesterday. And on, not the last podcast, but the podcast before, Hannah of the Crafty Chat podcast was talking about something that she had gotten from Aubergine and Art in Germany. Aubergine and Art. And aubergine, I know, means eggplant. I know that. So, but I don't know if that's why she called her thing Aubergine and Art or not, but I do know that aubergine means eggplant. That's one of the small pieces of trivia that I do know, of language trivia, I guess. But so she was sharing her Hufflepuff knitter and her other things that she had gotten, and so I couldn't help it. while I was watching the episode, I went and I ordered myself a Slytherin knitter pin because it makes me so happy. And then also I ordered the I do love knitting patterns, which I think is not the right quote. I'm pretty sure it's quilting patterns that he says in the book, but, or the, I can't remember which one. I'm pretty sure that it's quilting patterns, but I'll take it. That's fine. I really love this Slytherin knitter pin. It makes me so happy. It is so great. I'm showing it again because it makes me so happy. And it came on this little cute card with these little knitter, anyway, it was really cute and I couldn't say no to it and it made me really happy. So that was my last sort of acquisition for the week. Yeah, so she sent it along with this, with a cute little thank you note and a cute little sticker. Anyway, but the last thing that I wanted to talk about was in the mail. Actually, last time I talked about my experience test knitting for woods. And I don't know if I actually mentioned, but I really enjoyed the process. I really liked how organized it was and how and like I like my projects. I don't anticipate wearing the Black Forest cardigan outside of my house this winter. I have a feeling that I'm probably just gonna wear it around the house. It is a bit too bulky to wear underneath a coat, and I can't forgo the coat. It gets way too cold here to just wear woolens, which makes me really sad actually, but I think it's better suited for an around the house sort of sweater for me anyway, because it is a little bit oversized for what I would typically wear. Anyway, that being said, I finally received my copy of Woods. Finally received it. I wanted to be able to show it last week when I was talking about my test knits, but I couldn't. And I wanted to show you. So the way they have sort of organized the book is really interesting to me. So they have all of the projects sort of listed in the front of the book. Hold on. So they have like little spotlights on not only the pattern itself, but on the designers behind the pattern and on the wool that was used, or the dyers behind the wool that was used to make the pattern. And I find that really, really interesting that they did that. I haven't gone through and read all of them yet. I just haven't had the time. But I also want to just show you some of the gorgeous photography in this book. So here is one of the patterns that's a pair of mittens. They made it really easy to share like on podcasts and stuff where I'm not showing off like part of the pattern when I'm showing you pictures from the book, which I really appreciate actually, because I see like a lot of podcasters will go through and like have to cover, you know, whatever, but I don't have to do that with this. So, and I don't know if they were thinking about that when they did this, but I think that it's a really great way to organize it. So I'm definitely gonna make these mittens at some point. So yeah, I really love, and so yeah, so they have like a designer profile, and then after that, they have a yarn profile of like what yarn was used in it and all of that, and I find that really, really helpful for, I don't know, getting kind of an insight into like the designer's process and like even just like the yarn that they chose to use for this, for the design. I also really like this sweater here. It is so gorgeous. But yeah, and I have a feeling that I'm going to be knitting this hat here
It's a pattern by Becky Sorensen, who, like, I watch her podcast, but I think I'll probably be making this hat at some point as well. So, yeah, I really enjoyed, I really love how the book feels. I love the layout of it. This is actually the pair of socks that I knit, and I have made Ravelry pages if you guys want to go and check those out for or if you want to go check them out. I have made project pages for them. So yeah, and that's the same cardigan that I made. Yes, so I just wanted to share that I got my book, and I'm so excited. I'm so happy with it. And along with my book, I got the package that has the, like, the tote bag along with it. And the tote bag is really great. I really like it. It feels pretty sturdy. And I've been using it to hold my, my blanket project in. But yeah, so there's that. I'm really excited for the next book that they put out. I'm really excited. I'm not sure if I'm gonna do any more test knits for them or what, but or if I'll have the means to do it, because last time obviously I had to buy the yarn, and I know I said that I bought a whole bunch of yarn this time, but I really do need to be good. But yeah, so I finally got that book, and it makes me very happy. And yeah, I think that is everything that I had to share that has to do with knitting. I'm pretty sure that's all I'm working on right now. I did start, so the sock swatch that I showed you last time, I wrote down the pattern for it first, because I realized, actually it was because of Frenchie of Aroha Knits that I realized writing the pattern down first is the best idea ever. So when I first started designing, I would make the finished object first and then write down the pattern, and I felt like it was like I was trying to pull teeth. Like, I really hated writing down the pattern, and that's one of the reasons why I haven't finished writing down the pattern for most of the things that I've made, because it's just frustrating. Like, I want to see it in person, you know, I want to see a physical object of it before I have the pattern written, but I also need to write the pattern first, because I can't do it this way anymore. So I've decided that I'm going to finish writing down the pattern for the altitude socks, the sock swatch that I showed last time, before I start actually knitting the sock. And I need to get a couple more pairs of these 2.25 millimeter needles, because I'm starting to like them more. And especially the 9-inch circs, because I really enjoy the process of knitting with these, even though, like, they kind of hurt my hands a little bit, but it's mostly just those muscles I'm not used to using. So if I can make them more used to that, then maybe I can get a little bit faster with it. But yeah, so I'm hoping to get at least part of that sock done for next podcast, and I would like to. That means that I will have the pattern written up, so I can call for test knitters for that. So yeah, anyway, so thank you so much for joining me. I'm so sorry about the really awkwardness that I felt in the beginning of the episode. And if you want to stick around, I am going to tell you a little bit about what happened and why I have no power, and why I'm at my grandmother's house. So if you were just here for the knitting content, then I hope you have a wonderful day, and come and join me next time when I talk about everything I've been working on for the last 2 weeks. So thank you so much for watching. And for those of you sticking around and you've stuck around this far, then thanks, and thanks for bearing with me, I guess. I really do feel like, as long as I'm still laughing, and I'm still in a relatively good mood, good enough to do a podcast, that things are working out pretty well. So on Monday last week, there was a very large windstorm with gusts of wind up to about 60 miles per hour, which for those of you who are not in the US, so 60-mile-an-hour winds is about 96 kilometers per hour. It's very fast, very, very harsh winds. And it went on from late Sunday night until until like the afternoon on Monday. And it knocked out a bunch of trees. It knocked over a bunch of trees over onto power lines, and the transformer near my house, not near my house, but like several blocks away from my house, blew. And the power went out for, that being said, I still went to work on Monday. My power went out at 8 a.m. When I woke up, and I still went to work because all of the power around where I work is actually underground, so there was no issues with that. But on my way to work, there was a tree down at the, like there are two ways to get to my road. It's not really a dead end. Obviously, it connects two places, but excuse me. So it connects onto two roads. At one end, there was a tree down across the road, so I had to go the other way. And when I went the other way, there was a power line down, and I ended up having to drive. Like I drove under it, which is not what you're supposed to do. By the way, don't do that. But I didn't really notice it until I was underneath it. And then I got to work okay. It was hard driving in because all of the winds were like pushing against my car, so like it was really hard to get into work. I posted on my Facebook a picture of my hair like up in like a windy sort of fashion and saying, yeah, it's a bit windy, but I didn't realize the extent. Like I was poking fun at it, like, oh yeah, I'll probably have power by the time I go home, it's fine, like whatever. So Mondays and Tuesdays are my really long days at work, so I work a double those days. So I work from 9 a.m. until 8:30 p.m. With about a half-hour break in between. And like that's fine. I actually prefer it because I get all of my hours in those 2 days. So I got home and it was already like at almost 9 o'clock at night, and it was already dark. And it was really hard driving to my house because it was super dark, which was weird because I was like, oh man, the streetlights are not on. That's kind of weird. So I get home and there's no power still. And then the next morning I wake up, there's still no power. I'm like, that's kind of weird. I live in a big city. I mean, I live in a city where like there's a lot of people, like a lot of people. It's the third biggest city in Maine, which I mean, I realize is not that big comparatively to cities, but I mean, for Maine, it's big. So I woke up and I'm like, okay, fine. I guess we're just without power. I'll just get up and go to work and whatever. So I went to work, worked another 11-hour shift, and then came home and we still had no power. I'm like, what is going on? Like, it was just a little bit of wind. I'm so confused. So at this point, we haven't had power for 2 days. And then the power company is saying it might be until Friday that we don't get power back to our house. And it may even be until Saturday that we don't get power back to our house. And so I'm like, what do you mean? After the third day without power, which was Wednesday, I decided that I was tired of it. And I only work 6 hours on Wednesday, so I went downtown and had lunch and decided to be out of my house to where there actually is power. I hung out downtown until my shift, and then I worked my shift and went home.
All right, so my grandmother kind of cut me off when I was recording before. I'm kind of on my way home now, but I just wanted to get on and say, yeah, so I'm still without power as far as I know. I won't really know until I get home to check it out, but yeah, so it's been a little frustrating trying to, like, organize things, like, I don't know, having a shower and, like, just being a normal person. I don't know. Part of the reason why I choose to live in a city is because I expect this not to happen as often as it apparently does. I mean, I guess this specific thing hasn't happened, and I know they're working on fixing it. I'm not trying to rag on them for being, like, not doing their job or whatever, but it's just frustrating. Anyway, I think that is everything that I wanted to talk about. I hope you all have a wonderful week, and I will see you again when I record my episode next time. Have a lovely week. Bye.